So here to solve this Pentominonogram by Elyot. That's a tongue twister, but this is a style that Elyot's given us before with some different shape constraints, and it's a fun combination of this shading and object placement style. The 5-4 row looks to be a given row as we get started. The 2-3 and 1-2-1 are going to take some more thinking about, but it's really worth considering at the start. What does it mean to be only using X's? X's come with 1 cell and 3 cell groups. So some of these constraints are that, this 5 is going to be 3 plus 1 plus 1 most likely. And another thing is that you can't quickly use cells that are together. So if we're on an edge, we always have to come straight in as part of the X. So an edge cell will always be part of a 3 cell group. So like we can't take these as edges because we can't have a 3 cell group starting for these ones. We also can't have, I guess, a 3 cell group over here for this 2. And having marked in this start to the grid, we actually also can't use this cell. We couldn't put in another 3 here because you'd have the X's colliding. So here's some places to get started. We should now think about what does it mean to have 2 X's coming out from these remaining cells. And I think the thing to catch on to is you're going to be deflecting down and up, and you have 2 options for that. But you're going to be putting 3 unit groups in the 2 adjacent rows when you've got a 2 cell stretch. And that thinking isn't something we can do too much with right now because as I was just showing, there are 2 options up above. But it is something we want to think through with this 2 clue, because this 2 clue is going to represent, for instance, an X coming down and an X coming up. But you'll see that the only options available for this cell would cause collisions in doing that. So there's one more cell we can mark off in this row. That leaves us 7, where this nonogram clue 2 plus 1 plus 3, where 1 is the gap in the middle, has 1 degree of freedom left. So we can place 1 cell and 2 cells from these clues respectively. If we don't use these cells, we'll never get a 3 in the grid or a 2 in the grid in these spaces. And knowing that, this 3 is also going to have to be part of an all horizontal X, because let's say we're part of an up-down deflection path. In this middle cell, these collide. And so the actual thing you can do in placing this 3 is recognize this as part of a horizontal X. So this can't be part of an X that's coming all the way down here. This has to be part of an X that's going up into this space. That leaves just these 3 cells for another X coming up into the space, which forces this down. This is now the up part of this 2 clue. These cells can be marked off, this can be marked in. This is this X. Let's get all of the top shaded, since that's what the answer check will be using here. And we've got this X coming down, so it's good use for this 2 clue. This 2 in the middle, this 1-2-1, will also have that up-down pairing like this one does. And that makes us ask, like in the 6th row, where can we get 3 across? The only place we can get 3 across is one we've already placed. So this is part of the 2 clue right here. That's part of the 2 clue. That means this is the only cell left to be part of the 1. That one has to come down. This is the 2nd cell of the 2 clue. It's also part of an X that comes down. So you get these marked in the grid. We're now approaching the end of the puzzle and the end of using our inventory. So let's see what's left. We've got 9 X's placed. So we need to place 2 more. And one of them is going to start from this row. It's going to be using this cell or this cell and come down. And this one leaves behind space for another X, but this option does not. So the cancellation has to look like this to get 11 X's in the grid. So the shape placement is the last constraint we need to use, but we've now fulfilled the nonograms and the shape packing, and we've got to the one answer to this clever puzzle. So this Pentominonogram is a fun combination, and if you didn't solve the earlier one, please search out for it. But thanks, Elyot, for the puzzle. Hopefully you got something from watching me use both shading and line drawing notation to get through this grid, learning the constraints as we went along. Certainly the 1-3-1 breakdown of the X pentomino shape is an important thing to keep in mind that we used a lot in this puzzle. So something that you'll keep in mind as you run into pentominoes in the future as well. So thanks for watching this video, and we'll see you again soon.